I finally got a chance to try the app for the game Viticulture, and I'm going to walk through the digital tutorial here with you now on Legendary Tactics. So we're going to take you through the digital tutorial here. It's not very long. Hopefully we can give you a really good idea of how to play if you haven't had a chance to try this great game. Now this is going to be a fairly quick tour, if you will, of the game. And essentially what you're trying to do is run a successful winery. And there's a few different ways you can do that. In game terms, you need to get to 20 victory points, and not only to get there first, but if multiple players get there at the same time, you need to still end up with the highest victory point total. So in other words, once someone crosses the line of 20 victory points, then the game will end at the end of the current turn. And then, but that doesn't mean that the first person to cross the finish line is going to win. It's the person that ends up with the most victory points. That's an important distinction. So there's these workers here, which are represented by meeples in the game, and there are two normal workers and one grande worker. Now the normal workers are placed in any worker placement game on spaces to give you certain abilities and so forth. The grande worker is the same idea, except the grande worker cannot be blocked in any way. So if the space is already taken, the grande worker can still go there. We use money, in this case lira is the currency, and you start with 2 and you get 3 cards in hand. And the winery itself has 3 fields. You have the 5, 6, 7, and that is the capacity of the fields, and I'll get into that in a little more detail. But it's also the value if you choose to sell one of these fields. This is the money that you'll get for selling it. And you start with the smallest cellar, which means you can only have red or white wine up to 3 in quality. Okay. Now, once you upgrade your cellar, not only can you get red or white wine quality up to 6, but you can also do the combined. When you combine one red grape token and one white grape token, you can make a rosé, and that can go up to 6 quality. And then the largest cellar can get you into champagne, where you spend 2 white grape tokens and 1 red, and you can get a nice champagne, or you can get any quality of wine up to 9, which is pretty good. On the fields, as I said, you can plant vines, which are these green cards down here. And at the top right corner, you'll see the 1 red. That's the kind of the quality of the grapes that are planted, and in terms of their yield. So if you plant that card in that space, then when you harvest that field, it'll give you 1 red, the quality of 1 red wine token that starts on the 1 part of the track. So it's the lowest quality wine in that case. And so the grapes can be harvested, as they say. That's an action you can take, and that essentially creates a token on these tracks here, which track the grapes, which can then be changed into wine with a different action. There, in this case, you can see the 1 quality grape is turned into a 1 quality red wine. Not very good wine, maybe, but anyway, you can age it and improve it to some degree. So every turn, at the end of every turn, both the grapes on the presses and the wines in the cellars mature, and they improve in quality by 1 level. So a 1 will become a 2, 2 will become a 3, etc. And you can use them to fill wine orders. And you can see this wine order, it requires a 2 red, so a red wine that's at least quality 2, and a white wine that's at least quality 4. So with a small cellar, we're not going to be able to, we need to expand our cellar to get this one done. This purple circle here is the victory points, and this circle here with the arrow around it is a residual income that comes at the end of every turn. You can build up an income that in lira that comes in every turn Sort of think of it like the resale of wines that you have made in the past or that you've designed in the past. As it says, it'll grant you lira and victory points, but that it's important to note that that lira is a residual and comes in every turn. There's also these neat concepts called visitors. You can see this yellow card here. That's a planter, and that there are both summer and winter visitors. And some of them will give you benefits. You can see this patron, you can gain 4 lira or draw 1. The purple cards are wine orders and 1 blue card, which is a winter visitor. So the visitors are they throw a lot of variation into the game and a lot of kind of neat advantages that you can get. There's a winter visitor, and this one can give you, in this case, draw 2 summer visitors or discard 1 wine of at least value 4 to gain 3 victory points. So there's lots of neat things there. Sometimes they help you to fulfill a task more efficiently. If you need to hire more workers, you can either make, you can use this card to pay only 2 lira instead of the usual 4, or you can make up to 2 wines with that 1 visitor card. Another really neat mechanic is this one here, where you decide the turn order. So beginning with the first player, they choose when they want to wake up. And what that means is essentially what spot in the turn order are they most interested in. In the first slot, they just have the first, which means there's no advantage. You just get to go first. If you choose the second spot, you get a green card, which, if you'll recall, is a vine card. So as soon as you play there, you get a vine card and you go second. The person choosing the third slot gets a wine order card. Fourth gets a lira. Fifth gets a visitor, either summer or winter. If you choose sixth, you get a victory point for that, so that's not bad. And if you take seventh, so in other words, you're going to be dead last in the turn no matter what, but you get 1 extra temporary worker. And so it's a pretty neat thing. So this is considered to be the spring turn. There's 4 seasons. The spring turn is when you choose when you wake up. And so everyone picks their spot. And depending on which spot you chose, that determines the turn order for that particular turn. Then in the summer, you can allocate your workers to do summer tasks. It's not illustrated very well here, but if you look, you see these yellow spaces. These are the summer actions. So these ones can be taken in the summer. The blue ones can be taken in the winter. And these ones here, the +1 lira, and this one here, which is it doesn't look like it. It's supposed to be a picture of a yoke. That one is can be done as long as you've built the yoke to. It does uprooting vines you've already planted and that sort of thing, but I won't get into that right now. But anyway, but you can choose any one of these actions. So in this case, there's 6 actions you can choose in the summer, 6 you can choose in the winter, and then you've got some which are any time. After you've done as many actions as you care to take in the summer, then in the autumn you get to choose a visitor. You can take a free visitor card, either a summer visitor or winter visitor. Okay, and if you have a building, you can maybe even take 2 of them. In this case, the program chose a winter visitor, a bottler, and so the spaces here, you can choose these 6 spaces here. I'll just do a very quick rundown. I can't remember if the tutorial is going to do it anyway. The icons are a little bit hard maybe to get right away, but once you get it, it's actually very, very easy. So if you ever see a plus, that means you get to pick up a card. So going here means you get to actually pick up a vine card. Going over here means you get to actually plant those vines in your fields. This one here, you get to play a summer visitor. This one here gives you a lira or 2. This is where you give a tour of your winery. Down here, you're building a building. And over here, you're selling your fields, which can generate some quick cash. So those are all the summer actions. The winter actions, you have this one where you can pick up a wine order card. Over here, you can play a winter visitor. Here you can make wine where you move tokens from your the press, crush press, the grape tokens into the wine making part of your winery. And here's where you harvest the fields, where you place tokens into your grape crush press there, so that they can be made into wine later. Here you can hire more workers. They are permanent hires. You get to keep them for the rest of the game once they're part of your staff. And this final space here, you can fulfill a wine order. And so that's obviously a very important thing. And as it says, at the end of the year, all the wine and grapes on the crush press will age, and the workers return to start a fresh year. So now we're just going to zip on to the next tutorial. As I said, it's a bit of a whirlwind. The game is actually very straightforward to play in my experience. I've played this game a lot, and it's very easy to teach, actually. I hope I'm doing an okay job. I know the tutorials that maybe set up the best way. So now, after we've introduced the game, now it's showing you how to start the game. And you get one mama and one papa. And each card gives you a certain mixture of sort of a starting setup. So you can see the mama gives you the 2 regular workers and 1 vine card, which is the green, 1 yellow card, which is the summer visitor, and 1 wine order card. And the papa gives you 5 lira and the grande worker, and then you can choose either a victory point or 2 extra lira. So that's kind of a nice thing. I like the setup choice. Sometimes you get a free building or something like that, which is really great. There is an optional mama and papa rule where you can choose between 2 mamas and 2 papas, but I've never played with that rule. I kind of like I like the kind of randomized start. So the first person to play, as I said, gets to choose what slot they go into in terms of when they wake up. And the way you determine that, if you look at the golden grape icon, in the game it's actually a green wooden grape token that you have as first player. In the digital version, it's the golden grapes. That's the first player, and things move around clockwise as far as how they go through the turn order, at least initially for choosing when to wake up. And as I said, the icons are a bit hard to keep straight in the beginning, but remember, if you see a plus, that means you get to draw a card. If you don't see a plus, it means you get to play that type of card. So and here's again the different things as I went through earlier, different benefits to that. And we're going to move on to the next tutorial, and believe it or not, we're almost done. So once again, you allocate the tokens in the summer board here. Now there may be multiple slots where the workers can go, and that is dependent on the number of players involved. So in a 2-player game, there's only 1 slot, and in 3 to 4 player games, there's a second slot, which also holds a bonus, and this is kind of neat. So you can see it flashing on and off here, but when you play a 3 or 4 player game, there'll be spots where you can actually get a bonus. In this case, you get a 1 lira discount on the building that you build. If you play a 5 or 6 player game, there's a 3rd slot available. And again, if all the spots are filled, you can't place a regular worker there anymore. You can only place a grande worker, but you only have 1 of those per year. So use that worker wisely. And then it's going to just zip through the different benefits. So giving a tour gives you 2 lira. You can draw a vine card. This is kind of, it's funny how the tutorial sets it out because it's kind of randomly jumping around here. But this is play a summer visitor, sell your field, or I forgot to mention as well, you can also sell grapes off the crush pad. The value of the grapes depends on how far along they are on the crush pads. The more they've matured, or the better quality they are, the better price you can get. But I don't sell a lot of grapes, to be honest. I'll sell a field to get a boost in the early game, but I don't sell too many grapes unless I got a ton of them. But anyway, and then you can also plant a vine action there. And the build, again, it jumps around a bit, but covers the same same idea. And again, this cart action basically is, it's 1 lira. You can use it at any point, either in the winter, in the summer or winter. And it's just basically, if you can't think of anything else to do, there's this spot that you can use, that will give you at least some benefit instead of just passing your turn. Now the planting of the vine cards. Now this is where it does get interesting. So as I said, the numbers here, the 5, 6, 7, that's the capacity of the field as well as its value when you sell it. What I mean is, so if you look at this Pinot here, you'll see it's one red, 1 white. So the total is 2. So you can only have a total of 5 in this 5 field. So if you plant this Pinot, then you'll only have room for 3 more of these values here. So just something to keep in mind. The other thing to pay attention to is at the top left, there's this little icon, and there's 2 buildings that there's an irrigation building as well as this arbor. But these grapes require that building to have been built before they can be planted. So just make sure that you keep there's 2 things to keep in mind. That you got to make sure that it has the required building, and you got to make sure that the value there is at least within the number on the field where you're planting it. And it's showing the structure that you need to build before you are able to plant that particular grape. That particular vine. Some of the higher value vines require both the irrigation and the arbor building, which generally speaking, you're going to build them early enough in the game in order to give you the most flexibility with planting anyway. And they're not very expensive. You can see this one's 2 lira to build, the other one's 3 lira to build. Always a good investment early game. And the description of the structures, if you click on the plan here, then you can see what all the buildings do. And then as soon as all the workers have been used, or if all players pass, then you go to autumn, you draw the visitor, and then you move on to the winter. And now you have to be careful. If you spend all of your workers in the summer, then you may not be able to do any moves in the winter. So you have to really plan ahead. Make sure that you know exactly what you want to accomplish in a given turn. Once you're done, you can always pass whether you've done placing all your workers or not. And certainly that's going to be very common after the summer. You're going to click on pass to get to the autumn, grab a visitor card, and then go into the winter turn where you're going to be making wine and all that. So you're going to want to generally save some workers. In the digital version, you can see there's 2 out of 2, so that's how many are left of the normal workers, and then you always have 1 grande and only 1 grande worker there. I will, and then you choose the card. They're kind of repeating themselves here. What I will do here, I'm going to just go into the next tutorial, and I'm going to explain the buildings in a second, regardless of whether the tutorial does or not. So once again, in the winter season, if any workers you didn't use in the summer, you can use in the winters. You always got to budget very carefully here. This is going to jump around again, but as it says here, you can train a worker. It costs you 4 lira, and that gains you a permanent worker. And it's going to jump up here. You can grab a wine order, play a visitor card, harvest one of your fields, make wine, or fulfill a wine order, which gives you those victory points and the residual income. And using the cart grants 1 lira. So just because I'm not sure if it's going to go over it, I'm just going to try and show you what the buildings do. And this is a little bit more zoomed in here just before we look at the process of making wine. So the arbor and the irrigation, as I said, those are to allow you to plant certain vine cards in your fields. The yoke allows you to uproot a vine, so you can place your worker on the yoke area as long as you've built the yoke, and it allows you to kind of rejig your your fields and perhaps plant more valuable grapes there, and get rid of some of the lower quality ones. There's the tasting room, which is essentially gives you a victory point every time you do that wine tour action, which gives you lira. As long as you have wine in your wine cellar, any type of wine in your wine cellar, you give a tour. Normally, granting the tour gives you some lira, but it also gives you 1 victory point per year. You can benefit from that. The cottage, I love the cottage. It only costs 4, but it gives you an extra visitor card, either summer or winter, when you arrive at autumn. So it gives you a bunch of extra visitor cards, which are always valuable. If nothing else, to give you some variety. Building the windmill allows you to get a victory point for planting a vine. You only get 1 victory point per year, but if you plant a vine, if you're planting vines regularly, it can be a nice stream of victory points, one per year. And then these are the medium cellar and larger cellar. So now the tutorial is going to walk through how to make the wine. You can see here, it's a bit hard to tell on the interface here, but you can see that there's a 1, 2, 3, 4 quality grape on the crush pad, and 1, 2, 3, 4 quality white grape on the, or I guess green grape on the crush pad. So this is the various ways that you can transfer from the crush pad into the cellar. And they're going to show you obviously just a normal red and a white. You can just move them across. They become red or white wine of similar quality to the grape, where the grape was on the crush pad. You can combine 2 of them. You add their values and they become that level of rosé or blush wine. I guess I call it rosé. And then you combine 1 white grape and 2 red grapes. I think I misspoke before. And that can make a sparkling wine or champagne with a combined value of all 3 grapes. And those are going to be your most valuable wine orders. They're going to be including champagne or sparkling wine in some form. It's going to be there. So, but you have to remember to upgrade your cellar before you can make blush or sparkling wines. And even if you have wines that are, say, quality 6, if you don't have your large cellar, that's as good as they're going to get. You need to buy the large cellar before they can mature into wines valued 7, 8, or 9. So it's very important. Okay, and once as it said, once the year is over and all the workers have been placed and everyone's passed, then both the wines and the grapes on the crush pad mature. They age 1 level, which is a really important thing. You can plan around that and make sure you get your wine orders done that way. It's kind of a neat strategy. And then at the end of the turn, you get the residual payment from your wines, which is indicated here. You can see this local player has 0 at the moment, but any residual payments will be, at the end of the year, you get that amount of lira. And then you have to drop excess cards if you have more than 7 cards in hand. And then a new year begins, and you just repeat the seasons as I've described, and the game ends where someone crosses the line of 20 victory points. Now, it is important, if there is a tie, the tiebreakers are lira, then wine, and then grapes. That is the tutorial. I know it's a bit of a whirlwind, but I hope this gave you some insight into how to play Viticulture. As I said, once you actually get in there, you start, as I say, pushing buttons and pulling levers. It's actually not that complicated a game, but there's a lot of kind of fun nuance to it and a lot of surprises. I've always been a fan of this game. I think it's one of Stonemeyer's best. So anyway, hope this benefited you, and thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you here next time on Legendary Tactics.